I've been working on some side projects recently, but this is my main one. That is because sometimes I like to take my mind off things, and when I come back, I get new ideas, different perspectives. I think I'm going to talk about that in some other videos. Today, I'm going to focus on the animation progress, because I've been dumping a lot of dirty code here. Eventually, I think this script should disappear. So we have a bunch of variables here created over time, and it was okay in the beginning. Right now, we have too many, so I'm going to start with this one, air control. I'm going to clean it up. When you think about it, it's mostly just bowls and floats. And before I put it into another code, let me create an abstract class. Let me create a new folder. I'll call it RB data. Create a new C# script. So every one of them is going to be a data set. So I'll call it dataset. Namespace, roundbeargames. Let me create a new namespace called datasets. Put it in there. And it's going to be an abstract class. So in the future, we could have many datasets. Now we want to define what a dataset is. Every dataset is going to have something like a dictionary. We go through the index and get a bool. So I'll call it bool dictionary. We also have a bunch of floats. So in order to save the float data, I'll call it float dictionary. We could also have some vector3s. So again, a dictionary with a bunch of vector3 dictionary. Each of the data sets should be able to decide what data to set or which data to get. So public bool, get bool. In this case, we return something from the bool dictionary. Let's get the index and return data based on the index. Or we could also set bool. Again, get the index. This time we change the value in the dictionary with a new value. Okay, same thing with floats and vectors. Get float from the float dictionary, or set float in the set float dictionary. Same thing with the vector3. A function to return vector3. Get vector3. Get it from the vector3 dictionary through the index. Again, set vector3. We get a new vector. Change the value in the dictionary. Okay, essentially this is what a group of data is. You either get data or set data. I'm now going to go back to the editor and actually start creating data sets. I'll call it concrete dataset, which is not an abstract this time. I'll call it air control. Go in there. Namespace datasets. And this is going to inherit from the dataset class. Let me define some enums for the index. So we have some bool values. We also have float values and vectors. So we're going to convert the indexes into integers or vice versa. So all these variables, let me just copy them for now. So we have bools floats. So for the vol value, we have jumped, cancel pull, can wall jump, check wall block. We also have air momentum, which is a float. And for the vectors, max fall velocity. So in the future, we're just going to use these enums to identify what data we want. So in the beginning, let's start adding some default values. Let's get the bull dictionary, add some values, air control bull, jumped. I'm just going to put in false by default and switch this to integers. We also have cancel pull, can wall jump, and check wall block. We have the other dictionaries. Float dictionary, do the same thing. Air control float. Get the air momentum, start with 0. In the vector3 dictionary, again, air control vector3, max fall velocity, I'll start with 0. Now I want some sort of a controller for individual data sets. I'm going to create a script. I'll call it data processor. Again, namespace, roundbeargames, datasets. For now, this is just something that's going to hold all the datasets. I'll have another dictionary. The keys will be the type of each of the dataset. Value is the dataset itself. So a bunch of datasets in a dictionary called datasets. So the character control is just going to have one instance of the data processor, and that's going to hold all the data. So Control T, character control. I need to put this somewhere. For now, I'll just put it here. It's a public data processor. I'll just call it data processor. Every character is going to have one by default. So back in the editor, for Sophie, let me create an empty game object called data processor. Make sure that is applied to everything, the original prefab. Add the component data processor. Again, make sure that's applied to the original prefab. Okay, in the very beginning, we also want to initialize everything. Init initialize sets. For character control, in the beginning part of the game. Okay, first let's look for the data processor. Get component in children, get the data processor, and then initialize it. And let's say that you want to initialize a certain group of data sets, certain types. So let's get an array of types. And right now, the only type is the air control, but we could have as many as we want. So let's say we have another form of a data set, some data set. Again, it's going to get the namespace datasets and inherit from the abstract class data set. And whatever this is, it could also be initialized. Some data set. And let's say you just gotta put in the array to initialize them all. So we set up the parameter. For every parameter, we're gonna create a data set, a game object for a data set. So some sort of a new object, create an empty game object. We're going to attach every one of them under the parent, the data processor game object. So parent will be this transform. And the local position will be 0. Local rotation will be 0. Let's also give them all a name. The name will be same as the data set. And finally, let's add the component. Add component, the type, and let's get that data set. Because not only are we adding it, we should also add it to the dictionary. So we add the component to the object, we also keep it in the dictionary. Let's make sure everything is saved. And if I play, so under the data processor, we see air control and the other random set that we just created. So it looks like the initialize is working fine. Let me just rename this concrete data sets. And I'm gonna go back to the code, the data processor. So whenever we want to use a certain set of data, we say get dataset. Put in the type that we want. And the function is going to simply return that from the dictionary. Let me rename this dictionary of data sets. So the next task is moving all these variables into a data set. Eventually everything in the animation progress will be tucked away somewhere, and every character will hopefully be a little more manageable. I'm going to end this video here. If you have any questions, please let me know, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.